Who in the world is going to win the triple threat at Night of Champions? Smackdown is over. Let's talk about it. In the main event of tonight's show, we had a promo featuring Cody Rhodes, who was interrupted by Sami Zayn, who was interrupted by Gunther, who was interrupted by Jey Uso, who was interrupted by Obafemi. But let's start from the top and make it drop here. Cody called out Sami for not being a victim of anything because Sami's still trying to play this victim character. They ended up mentioning Kevin Owens. Cody said, it's surprising that Sami Zayn is Kevin's friend, and at least Kevin Owens has been WWE champion. And Will Smith style, Sami Zayn said, keep Kevin's name out your effing mouth. Minus the effing part. And then Jey Uso came out and interrupted them. And basically, Gunther just said he was going to win, and then Jey said he was going to win. And that ended in a brawl with Jey and Cody in the ring, and then Obafemi's music hit. And things got juicy. He came down to the apron, faced off with Jey. After Jey super kicked Cody out of the ring, Gunther came in and stared down with him. Then Sami came in and stared down with him. And then Cody came in to grab his title. And Obafemi stood in front of him, teasing Obafemi versus Cody Rhodes. And that is how the show ended. I think this was probably just to make us think that he might challenge Cody, but I don't think that is going to happen. I really liked the Gunther and Oba face-off. However, I really hope it doesn't happen at SummerSlam. I don't think we have to worry about that. But if Oba wins King of the Ring and Gunther wins the title, I am going to be very concerned because I do not want that match at SummerSlam. I want Brock versus Oba. Either do just Brock versus Oba, Brock versus Cody, or Brock versus... Oba versus Cody or Oba versus Roman. I do not want Oba Gunther. And it's really tough to tell who's going to win between these three men at Night of Champions because Gunther has been booked like garbage, lost all his aura. It doesn't really do him any good to win him a title, mainly because he is the career killer and isn't killing any careers, which is so stupid. Sami Zayn, it would help him a lot, but I don't see what huge match he could have at SummerSlam, and they might want Cody to win because they want to do Cody versus Randy still, which is honestly just what I want at this point. This feud has been a mess, and I want it to just be over and to give us Cody versus Randy. And the show kicked off with Trick Williams, who got married to Lash Legend this weekend. Congratulations to Tricky. And then he was interrupted by Ricky Saints. Really, really liking Ricky Saints' work so far. He has been getting more and more pops from the crowd every week. And cut a great promo and said to Lil Yachty that they don't need comments from the peanut gallery, which was hilarious. And then Ricky took out Lil Yachty. Thank you, Ricky Saints. And then he took out Trick Williams. Very excited for this match at Night of Champions. I think it is going to be a really good match, but I think it's pretty obvious that Trick is going to win. Then we had a tag team match between Tiffany and Alexa teaming up against the team of Beachin. This was truly terrible because why on earth are we having your Women's United States Champion, Tiffany Stratton, take a pin one day before her title defense against another main eventer in Jade Cargill? You are making her look terrible. Yeah, it was because of Jade Cargill, but you did not need to have Tiffy take a pin here. Now it just makes her look more weak going into her first title defense. As you can see in this picture, they were all about to attack Tiffy, but then Chelsea Green came out and made the save. And they ended up escaping the wrath of Jade and Beachin. And I'm starting to think that Jade might actually win this because she also pinned Chelsea in a squash match later in the show. And then Tiffy came out to try to save Chelsea from a beatdown. And Tiffy got hit with a Jaded. So maybe that'll come into play in the match tomorrow. We had a promo between LA Knight, and Solo Sikoa. This was actually a really good promo, and they both said a lot of things that I really liked. Solo is desperate at this point to just team with anybody. Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga just seemingly ditched Solo Sikoa out of nowhere. I don't know why exactly Tala Tonga ditched him. I see why Tama did it. I'm glad they finally pulled the trigger on this. I'm not sure why it was just so abrupt, why it took this long, but you know what? Ever since the Grayson Waller and Austin Theory situation, I'm just going to take what I can get when it comes to people, to heel people turning on the other person. Specifically, tag teams or factions. Solo basically said that at this point he has nothing to lose, but LA Knight says he does things his way, yeah, and declines to team with Solo, which is probably going to come back to bite him in the ass, and then they're going to eventually end up teaming, and I do not like this because I am very worried that we are going to get Solo versus the Roman at SummerSlam, which would just be truly terrible, truly terrible. The hot take for this one is LA Knight is quickly becoming part of that group where when he or she talks, you shut up and listen because LA is so great on the mic. But I know what WWE and Triple H is doing, trying to make Solo a babyface to make him the one person not to join the bloodline. And I would love to see a babyface Solo. I think it would be super entertaining because we haven't gotten to see that yet. We haven't gotten to see Solo on his own even. He's always been in the bloodline or MFT. So I would really like to see Solo on his own, especially as a babyface. We had a match between Paige and JC Jane. This was bad. Not because it was a bad match. These two worked great together. They had a really good match. Probably Paige's best match since she came back. At least singles match. Although I only think she's had one, but whatever. The bad part about this was JC Jane got rolled up and pinned by Paige. This is ridiculous. She went from debuting with Fatal Influence, taking out the likes of Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill. They were doing that. And now, like 2 months later, she is losing to Paige. And that's not to slander Paige, but like she's losing to the tag team champions when she's not even a tag team wrestler. I get it. You want to have Paige get a win in her hometown, but it doesn't have to come at the expense of Fatal Influence. And as this hot take says here, WWE has just completely killed and murdered all momentum that Fatal Influence has had, which is such a shame because they were so good. They had so much momentum. They were getting so many boos from the crowd. They were so loud. The boos from the crowd were so loud. They could have ran SmackDown. They could have ran the entire women's division on SmackDown, and it would have been super entertaining. Now they are relegated to jobbing out to the women's tag team champions. This honestly might have been the best part of the entire night, was the Danhausen segments. He came out with both Kit Wilson and The Miz. And just The Miz and Kit Wilson were so funny. They were acting like zombies. Kit just walked straight into the crowd. The Miz fell through the ropes into the ring. Los Garzas came out and took out Kit Wilson and The Miz, and then Matt Cardona came out to save Danhausen, and that led to Ryderhausen versus Los Garzas in a tag team match. A really fun and entertaining match, just like every other Danhausen match. He cursed Berto and ended up picking up the win. Still undefeated on the main roster, as he should be, and that is why he is the greatest of all time. Then we had Julia versus Kiana James in what seemed to be the payoff to their feud. Thankfully, this feud didn't need to run on for months. I'm glad they did it, built to it for a week or two, got it done, and they're moving on. Julia ended up picking up the win, which is obviously the right decision. It was a banger of a match. They had great chemistry. Julia had a really cool sunset flip powerbomb off the top rope. It was a sit-out sunset flip powerbomb, which is extremely impressive, and Julia has quickly become one of my favorites. I already liked her back when she was the U.S. champion, but now she is becoming one of my favorites. And then after the match, Blake Monroe finally made her main roster debut, taking out Julia. And while I'm glad that Blake Monroe is finally here after 2 months, I'm very concerned that they're going to start this feud with Julia and Blake Monroe, and Julia is going to end up losing and be relegated right back to jobbing. I'm going to hope and pray that that does not happen, but just put Blake Monroe in the main event. That is going to be it, though, for this episode of the Smackdown Summary. Thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want, and